My name is Heidi Ellsworth. I am the owner of Roofer's Coffee Shop and Metal Coffee Shop. If you haven't been to our booth, it's 1941. I'll just put that out there. And we specialize in online community. That's what our company is about. And so we, my partner here, Karen, and I wrote this book on networking. It's a workbook. Okay, hi Mark. It is a workbook for you to help visualize, set goals, and really up your game of the people you want to meet in the industry, in your company, in your community. So, I am going to start with introductions here, and Artie, please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Heidi. My name is Artie Molinari, originally from London, England, but now I live in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm an architect, and I'm the enclosure solution specialist for Tremco. If you don't know Tremco, they're one of the largest waterproofing and roofing manufacturers in the world, and based in Cleveland, Ohio.
Perfect. And then I would, Leanne, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Leanne Slattery. I'm the sales support manager with ATAS International. We are a manufacturer of metal wall cladding, metal roofing, and all other types of metal components. We're at booth number 918 on the show floor. And I am also involved in a lot of different associations, and I'm currently the chair of the Market Development Committee for the Metal Construction Association.
Excellent. And Karen.
Hello, my name's Karen Edwards, and I work with Heidi at Roofer's Coffee Shop and Metal Coffee Shop as their COO. I also have my own business, and I do freelance writing and marketing consulting in the roofing industry, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about this.
Yeah, this is good. And as I said, my name is Heidi Ellsworth with Roofer's Coffee Shop. I do want to note that we're standing up here. So when we came in, there were some chairs here, and we said, hey, and this is actually, Leanne said this, good networking is not about sitting in a chair. Good networking is about standing and moving around. We really want this presentation to be interactive. So as we are talking through things, if you have questions, or if you're like, hey, yeah, I did this and it was pretty awesome, we want to hear that. The first time this presentation we ever gave it, Karen and I presented this at National Women in Roofing at National Women in Roofing Day. And Leanne was in the audience, and we were going back and forth and back and forth. It was so awesome. And so we were like, we need to have Leanne on this panel. Last year at METALCON, I was standing in my booth, our booth, and this nice young man walks up to the booth and he says, hi, I'm Artie Molinari, and I've always wanted to meet you. I follow you on LinkedIn, and then he became best friends with my husband. And
true story.
It was the best networking ever.
Don't get too close to Heidi, or you'll be up here next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
see it coming.
the thing. So, okay, that's how this group got together. This is their credentials. So let's get started. We're going to start out with why network. So, Artie, why did you come to these shows to network?
Well, I always want to build myself, a brand maybe, a lot of people call it, and if you do that, I feel that automatically you're going to grow not only your business or your job in the company that you work for, but also in your community, your family, just everything. I feel like it's an elevation of yourself. You just by getting out of your comfort zone. Like for example, I'm nervous right now standing in front of you, and just like last year when I met Heidi, but at the same time, when it's reciprocated, there's just a level, that we can all just come together, and it's at the same time when you're in your job doing your daily technician tasks, don't think of it as mundane. So just like when you're cooperating or collaborating with your team, I feel that networking is synonymous with that.
Mm-hmm. And you make friends.
Friends for life. Where's Tim?
I know. Yeah. Leanne, why do you network? You are amazing at it.
I mean, I've been at this for a long time, and when I first started, the social networking, online networking wasn't a thing as it is now, and I certainly participate in that, but there is nothing that challenges the and enforces a good relationship or the beginning of a relationship than the eye-to-eye, the handshake, the conversation. In my opinion, there's just nothing that replaces that. And, networking for building a personal brand in your network as well as your business is great. The story that I always tell people when they ask why I'm so involved in so many different associations and networking, well, a great example is I was with a company for 14 years and they decided to close their doors. And it was through my network, through one of the local industry associations, that gave me several opportunities. I never had to look at Indeed or any want ads or anything. It was just a segue right into my new position. So that's why I continue to do this.
Yeah. Karen.
Same reason is to build those relationships, build those friendships. In my career, moving from place to place to place, I've followed Heidi a lot. But all the positions and the jobs that I have had have been because of networking, because of people that I knew, relationships that I built. For a while, I was very involved in some of the industry associations, the roofing associations. And when 6 years ago, I guess it is now, when the company that I worked for was bought and, kind of clean house, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And because I had so many relationships with so many people, I said, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. And they're like, well, can you help me with this? Because I know you're good at marketing or writing. And that's how my business came about, because I had so many people asking me, oh, you're not working there anymore? Well, I need help with this. And so that would have never happened if I didn't have those relationships. And I've also never had to look for clients or work. It's always been that people, because I've got such a large network and they know what I do. So that's very important to me, and that's one of the reasons why I continue to network.
Yeah. And so whether it is for your business, starting your own business, whether it's for your career, moving up within a company, networking and taking the time to figure that out and figure out who you need to know, who you want to know, and then being brave in doing that is what gets you there. So the first place it starts out with is company networking. And so just so we know, how many people in here own your own business? Okay, great. And then how many people, well, and then we'll say the rest of you work in the businesses. So this goes both sides, right? As an owner of your business, it is so important that you help your employees network within the company, that they know you, that they get to understand your culture, understand your values. And on the other side of it, as an employee, you need to just sit down and talk to those the owners, to the bosses, to, if you're in sales, talk to the marketing person, right? That's what we want to talk about here within the company. Real good networking always starts within the company. Karen, you have done this a lot.
Yeah, think about if you start a new job, if it's a large company and you're kind of, I don't know anybody, I don't know what's going on. One of the best things you can do is to meet with the different folks in the different departments so that you can understand what they do, how they do it, what their challenges are. How does that, I've been in marketing most of my career, and marketing and sales always kind of go together, but they kind of don't, right? Because salespeople say, oh, well, marketing's doing this, and marketing says, well, sales never follows up with my leads, and but by spending time together and understanding what are their pain points, and how can I help them, and how can they help me, and how can I work together? You're not only getting to know more about the company and more about the people you work with, but you're building that relationship so that adversarial kind of approach, and that happens with production, it happens with across the board. There's always, well, the sales guy sold this and now I've got to try to figure out how to install it, and that's not going to work. But by building those relationships, and then you begin to work together, and it's more of like being on the same team. And I think that is really helpful, especially in any size business, but especially in larger companies.
Artie, you work for a huge company.
Yeah.
Tramco, and you work remote.
Yeah.
How do you do this?
What's interesting, when you read the book, not if, you'll see somewhere in the middle there that you should connect with everybody who you work with. And I'm thinking to myself, just in North America alone, Tramco's got over 5,000 employees. Internationally, it's like 20,000. So I'm like, do I really want to do that? But then and I was thinking it was crazy. And then I thought again, I'm like, you know what though? With LinkedIn, I can literally, and it might be creepy, so I kind of, stage it out a little bit. I'm just adding everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother me that I'm going to follow somebody, and they actually will probably appreciate it, really, because unfortunately in society now with social media, it's actually a positive thing. So when it first came out, people saw it as negative, like a little bit of a creepy thing, but now it's like the easiest way to get work, honestly. So I actually am going to take that advice. I'm probably connected with like 200 of my coworkers, and I only speak to maybe 20 of them on a regular basis, but I do not know who I'm going to meet in the company that we work for who can make my life better, you know what I mean? So I'm not just thinking of my wife and kids who can do that for me, like people that we work with and touch on a daily basis through communication can definitely do that. Why do you have to, I don't want to use the K word here, but kill yourself when you're trying to work so hard? Literally, when you're doing it as a team effort, it's just fun, it's effortless, and definitely creates loyalty for sure. But everyone in these types of environments will understand and appreciate that, and it's only going to benefit. It's a win-win situation.
Everything. Did you have a question? No, I thought you raised your hand. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So, Leanne, you have been amazing at bringing young people in and helping them network within your company. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're not as large as Tremco, but we certainly have well over 100 people in the headquarters where I work out of, and we have some other smaller locations too. And I always try to go out of my way with new employees that come in to introduce myself to them and introduce them to a few other people that I think can be helpful to them. Our Human Resources Department does that somewhat, and their supervisor might do that somewhat, but it's nice to have somebody that maybe is not your supervisor or HR that can give you the ins and outs, a little bit about the company culture, get them acclimated to that, and just the introductions alone and how that they can interact with that person. For instance, if a younger salesperson or our customer service people would come in, definitely they'll be interacting with our technical advisors as well as marketing and accounting to get accounts set up and all that. So that's very important. And I think the younger generation does a better job. When I was younger, I was intimidated, I think, when I first started with a company. I think the younger generation now is more comfortable, and I always like to say that, see your surroundings and the people that you work with, but also be seen, and that's on you to make yourself known to your coworkers, and as well hear, but also be heard. And don't be afraid to speak up. If you don't know something, or you want to meet someone, or you want to know how something works, just ask.
Yeah, I can tell you, going from marketing to sales, so for those of you who are in a corporate situation and moving, I wanted to go into sales. When I wanted to go into sales, there weren't that many women in sales, and if I hadn't spent the time that I did writing with the sales team, getting to know them, understanding it, I probably would have never gotten there. So getting your people if you own your own company, to get them to network between departments, it makes all the difference. In the book, you're going to see that there is on page 5 for the company networking. You're going to see this at the end of every chapter, but there is a place where you can write goals. I would highly recommend, if you're right now sitting there thinking, I really want to meet the president of the company, how am I going to do that? Write that person's name down, and then the person that knows them. Make notes, visualize and set goals. Otherwise, you'll just always put it off, and it'll never happen. Industry networking. This is why you're here. You're here at METALCON for industry networking. There are some amazing associations here. Right in the room today is the Metal Construction Association, Metal Roofing Alliance is here, the Women in Metal, I think have a booth here somewhere, National Women in Roofing, all of that. So there's lots of opportunity. Leanne, you are like one of the best networkers in the industry, and you are involved in so many different associations. Let's talk about that a little.
Yeah, luckily I have great support from my company as far as the time that I spend networking and attending events, and a lot of them are after hours, so you have to take that into mind, but the return on investment for that time, let alone the money spent to go, but the time that it takes has paid for itself tenfold. The number of people that you can meet and the different types of associations out there. I mean, it got to a point that even in the greater Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, where I'm located, I could easily go to a networking event every night of the week, Monday through Thursday. I got to a point where I tried to limit myself to 2 a week because it got to be a lot. But, not only the ones that Heidi mentioned, we're in architectural building products, so I'm very involved with CSI, the Construction Specifications Institute. I belong to our local AIA chapter, our local green building chapter, contracting, ABC, whether it be, or AGC, all of the contracting affiliations out there. There's a lot to choose from. And all of the information can be found online, and you'll find out if there's a local event or a chapter in your area, and then just show up. I mean, it's nice if somebody like Heidi could take you along if they're already involved in that, but don't be afraid just to show up. Most of these associations are well aware when a new person comes into the room that hasn't been there, and they should be welcoming you, introducing you to other people in the event.
Yeah. That's the thing. Artie, you're involved with some industry groups too that are a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, like Leanne, AIA is huge. As an architect, if you're not a member of the American Institute of Architects, that's wrong. It's like a no-brainer. But the beautiful thing about that is that I can be active in my community. I've always talked to my family all the time, like, how can we get more involved? How can we volunteer and do activities as a family other than just going to the movie theater or the beach or something like that? It's like, how can we actually engage with like-minded people, or even people that want to start doing what you're doing, or vice versa. And AIA makes that super easy because they definitely welcome volunteers, because it's not paid, it's all non-profit, and most organizations operate this way. Sitting on a board of directors is huge as well, because if you're only volunteering for an organization, you're not really getting your own return on investment, in my opinion. So, by me sitting on a board and holding a position, I'm kind of, I don't want to say obligated, but it's, I'm getting more out of it for sure. USGBC is another one that I'm really big into. As architects, we always preach sustainability and green building, but then it's probably really, the difficulty is clients. So when you're a member of an organization like USGBC, we can actually go out and we give tours of buildings, whether it's a bank or a school or a hospital, and we invite the local community, whether they're USGBC members or not, to come, and we educate them on the wall and roofing assemblies, and it's pretty interesting, and the kids love it. You'll see schools today that expose a lot of structure and infrastructure with their MEP systems, and the kids they want to do it. It's like they want to be architects already. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and so we're going to kind of combine into community too. Although I do want to point out, Karen is the executive director of the Roofing Technology Think Tank. So sometimes it's not just about joining associations in the industry or being involved, but it's actually taking leadership.
Thanks. So it's interesting. Community networking, especially if you're a small business providing services in your community, one of the best things you can do is to get involved. Get involved with a local nonprofit. Get involved with your chamber of commerce. Get to know the people, because these are all potential customers, and these are people. Once people want to do business with people they like and they trust and that they know. So as you're building these relationships, you're not obviously selling to them, but they're going to know, oh, that's Karen and she has a roofing company, and so 6 months from now when they have an issue, they're going to call me because they go, I know her, I like her, she's nice, she's not going to rip me off, and she'll show up when she's there. A roofing company in Texas that I work with, they connected with their local rec league, and they sponsor soccer. You know, I don't know what it costs to sign up for soccer, $50 for the season or $65 for the season, and they have like a scholarship that they started to help kids whose families can't afford that registration fee, and so then they get their name and logo all over the place at these soccer games. They show up the first day of the season. They hand out bottled water to the players, to the parents that are in attendance. It's got their logo all over it. You know, so it's getting involved. It's supporting your community, and it's giving back. And it gives back to you, like Leanna said, the return on that investment. You know, a little bit of money, a little bit of time, and you're just building relationships that end up being invaluable.
Yeah, and I would really recommend on community networking, think outside the box. So I was doing this presentation a couple weeks ago, and a gentleman raised his hand and said, yeah, we're in the parade every year. We do the parade, and it's the best networking. He gets to meet people. So for your business, getting in front of them. Where I'm from, the county fair. County Fair Commercial Building, man, that is the best place, because when if you're at a home show, you're kind of lost with all the other home improvement people. But if you go different places and start networking and getting to know people and doing those kind of things, so look for things that are outside the box in your own community, but also that your employees are passionate about. Because if you can get the employees involved in that parade, or working at the county fair, or volunteering with Habitat for Humanity, or whatever that may be, it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
So I'm gonna, just for time's sake, I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna talk a little bit, okay, so those were kind of the areas that we like to focus on, right? Your own company, your industry, and your community. But now, how do you do it? And what is that? And we really believe it's goal setting. And so you'd already heard this a little bit, Artie has a goal.
He's going to connect with 20,000
LinkedIn.
coworkers.
I want to start with North America.
Yeah.
The
North
5,000
America.
first.
Yeah,
Okay,
5,000.
5,000.
People in Australia don't care about
So
it.
kind of talk about, and I mean, you came last year to METALCON with a definite list of who you were going to meet.
Yes.
So talk about setting goals and how important that is for networking.
Heidi was at the top of that list, by the way, and that's why I went straight for that Rufus Coffee Shop booth. Yeah, don't regret it, because now I'm here because of her. I didn't memorize these goals, so I've put them in my phone here, but my first goal is, like I said at the beginning, about building your brand. But knowing yourself and your skills is essential. A lot of people have talent or skills that they're unaware of. So as soon as you either find it yourself, normally what happens though, and this has happened to me, is that bosses have seen skills that I possess that I was unaware of. So as soon as you can develop those, it's just going to make life a lot easier. So that's number one. Then number two, knowing your audience. Understanding my clientele, now that I work or represent a manufacturer as an architect, literally dealing on a daily basis with architects, that's huge. I've literally been in their shoes, so I know exactly what they need from me, what they want, what's going to make their lives easier. Going into number three, understanding how to leverage your skills. So this kind of goes back to number one, but taking it to the next step. You can have the skills, but then you could do them pretty much improperly, or you're not going to be able to. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Understand how to. I'm just going to read it verbatim now. I'm trying to memorize. Yeah. As I've been in my clientele shoes, I know what they want and how to deliver it. You can't get much more effective than that. All right. The next one is getting yourself out there. So like coming to these shows, like Leanne and pretty much we've all been saying, being in industry organizations, attending events, whether they're for an organization or for your community. Pretty much I recommend that you go to a show like this at least once a quarter. And then in between, by being on, say, a board of directors or volunteering for an industry organization, you could do that really on a weekly basis. If that's too much for you, then maybe a monthly basis. You know, you need to, you can start, you know, wherever you need to, but I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of like Leanne, like I'm on a daily basis, at least in a meeting, whether it's via Microsoft Teams or what have you. But then absolutely once to twice a week, I'm physically going to an event, whether that's volunteering or you know, just helping out or even hosting the event. And then, of course, conferences. If you don't have a booth, like, for example, Tremco, sadly, doesn't have a booth here today, but I'm representing, I'm walking around, I'm networking, and I'm getting to know other manufacturers that actually do business with us, and neither one of us were aware of it. And then the last one, repeat and evolve. So consistency is 90% of the battle. I think we kind of touched on that earlier. But if you do this for a year or two and then kind of stop, your credibility is going to be lost. I've seen that in myself, where I joined organizations and then I kind of, it wasn't intentional, but family got in the way, or it just wasn't as important to me anymore. And then I showed up, everyone greeted me warmly, but at the same time, it's like, what do you do now? Like, how are you? Like, it's awkward. And if you can maintain that streak where you're actively involved, it just makes the flow a lot more easier.
And Artie, as you're hearing these things, that's the goal setting, right? You want to set the goal of how many conferences am I going to go to? How many associations am I going to get involved in? Write it down. Whenever you write down those kind of things, they tend to happen. Otherwise, we get busy every single day, and it just doesn't happen. Along with that goal setting is the networking tools. And so I'm going to start this one with Karen on all the social media, all the networks, everything. How do you get around that? I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot, right? So part of it is just figuring out what you're interested in. What do you want to know more about? There are groups on LinkedIn and even Facebook, for that matter, of like-minded professionals. There's a commercial and residential roofing forum. Oh, it's a big one. That's got like 10,000 people in it on LinkedIn. But it's a closed group where people can have conversations. You can ask a question. Other people will give you answers. So if you're not a people person, maybe you don't like talking on the phone, maybe you don't like face-to-face, maybe that's uncomfortable for you. If you get into these online forums and groups, then you can start contributing, and people start to get to know you that way as well. So I highly recommend, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please make one.
Yes.
It's super easy, and put your picture out there, because there's so many profiles that you see that are just that little silhouette head, and I'm like, well, what do they look like? Who are they? Like, if I've met people here today at the show that I've only ever been in like video conference, but I see their face, and then I see them in person. I'm like, oh, I know, yeah, we're meeting in person for the first time. So by getting into those groups that are of interest to you, that are in the same industry as you, that are dealing with the same issues as you, and then when you come to events like this, you're going to see some of those people. You're going to meet some of those people. And, that's my recommendation, especially for networking, is LinkedIn, more for professional. Facebook's more kind of personal, I think. But there are groups related to industries out there. John Sheridan.
Yeah, has huge groups.
He has huge
metal
groups
installation.
on metal installation and on Facebook. So, seek those groups out and check it out. I thought groups were kind of a thing of the past, that they were dying, but they're not. They're out there.
Leanne, you use Facebook incredibly effectively. So, is that your primary?
Well, for business-wise, mostly LinkedIn, but because of the network that I have and some of these folks that I see all the time, they've become friends as well. So for those folks, I connect with Facebook, and then I don't worry if I post something about my family or my dog or whatever. And, I just try to go across mostly Facebook and LinkedIn. But, with the networking tools, it's a great add-on to meeting people in person, but I don't think it should ever replace it.
And it is an incredible way to set goals and do research. So now this may sound a little stocky, and I don't mean it to, but I will go out on LinkedIn, and I'm going to send it over to Artie because I know he does this also, but I will go out on LinkedIn and say, I want to meet somebody. I set a goal. I want to meet Dick Buss from ATAS. Oh, well, he's part of the NRCA. Oh, he's part of MCA. Oh, he's the president of MRA. Okay, now I know a little bit about this person. I write that down, I'm aware of it, and then I can go meet meet them. And there's a reason. I'm a salesperson. So as a salesperson, right, that's what we want to do. We want to meet people. We want to network. We want to build that relationship. That works across the board. In production, it doesn't matter. In owning your own business, knowing that next customer who you want to have. LinkedIn is a phenomenal research tool. Artie, LinkedIn tips.
Yeah, well, even though we know LinkedIn is extremely powerful, my favorite is Instagram.
We kind of already went over digital marketing, so I'm going to go to our last slide here. This is the most important thing, I think, of networking of anything. Networking is about giving. Networking is about giving. You will reap the benefits. There's no question about it. It will help your business. It will help your personal life. It will help everything else. But it all starts with giving. So as you are giving to people, take the time to visit with them, to mentor, to give back. It is probably one of the most important things. I'll just give a quick example. We saw a need in roofing for an organization for national women in roofing. And so myself, a couple people I had networked, Karen was there, Leanne was at the very beginning. We said, we're going to start an association. So sometimes it's not always about going to an association and just getting things. It's about seeing a need, delivering on that, being involved, and giving back to your industry. I tell you, I have a Rolodex of women in roofing that is thousands.
A Rolodex.
I know, I'm showing my age. So for those of you who are like going, that social media stuff, forget it, I had to throw a Rolodex in there to say. But I'm going to, just real quick, Leanne, you are doing stuff with camps, with
girls.
Go.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I do work-related is a camp that was created by our local CSI chapter along with the local Associated Builders and Contractors chapter, and it's called Let's Build Construction Camp for Girls. We had our 6th camp this year, and we target middle and high school age girls. They come to camp for a week, which is totally free, and there's a lot of companies that are here on the show floor that help sponsor this camp. And they get hands-on experience with everything from carpentry, plumbing, electricity, HVAC, masonry, tile, roofing, wall panel installation. One day of the week they'll do a field trip to a local manufacturer like ATAS. They'll go to visit our architect's office to see what they do. They'll go to a job site, and it's really just to expose them to potential career opportunities that they may have never considered before. And these girls, even the shyest ones that come in the first day, by Friday, they are, for nothing else, if they don't go into our trade, the self-confidence that they gain at this camp is amazing. Yeah. And the life skills that they have. Dick Buss's granddaughter came to our camp a couple times, and her parents were doing a renovation, and part of the renovation was Evelyn's bedroom. Evelyn did all the wiring in that bedroom renovation herself. Dick oversaw her, but he was amazed at just that 1 week camp, the skills that she learned. So these are things, everybody is struggling with labor, and especially getting younger people into the trades. There's a lot of tradespeople, the boomers, they're retiring, and there's nobody moving into that. And one of the best things about the camp is the last day of the camp, the parents are invited to come in and see what the girls built during the week or whatever, and we kind of educate them a little bit about what the current salary is, starting salary 10 years from now. A lot of them go on to own their businesses, and no student debt. The internships that are available, and you can see the parents' eyes light up, and the girls are talking to them about, hey, this is something I think I might want to do. We've had some campers that have gone through, they've graduated, we have a couple carpenters that are working locally. They come back in during camp now and volunteer and show the girls what they're doing, what they're making, what the opportunities are, so it's a great thing.
Find what works in your community or in what position you are in. Again, I had another person, a great company, if you want to look at how to give back and bring it to your company, look up Antis Roofing out of Southern California. One of the things that Antis Roofing does is they volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, and they bring their customers. They invite their customers to come with them to the build. They invite their customers to go to the roofing Ronald McDonald House to help serve dinners, to feed. Now you have a relationship with your customers that it's networking, but it's a relationship, and you've done something that you feel good about instead of just a big old honking dinner at Capitol Grill or something, right? So those are the kind of things on Give Back. The one last thing I want to say too on giving back is for all of those in here who are older, like myself, take the time to stop and talk to people. Be that mentor, and then listen, because you're going to learn so much from that person who you are going back and forth with. That's why I say here, mentor and mentee, that's one of the most important things about networking. We get so busy we don't stop and take the time to do that.
Yeah, we learn from our young people that Instagram really is important.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been educated.
All our young,
Yeah.
you know, whatever generation
Yeah.
that is, you know, are all on there. They only have Facebook accounts to keep their parents happy, and they never post on there. But
I'm never going to live it down now that I already said that.
I know. Because
I'm
she's
done.
always like,
Instagram. I'm like, do we really need Instagram?
I'm like, yes, we need Instagram.
Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to, first of all, any questions or thoughts or comments?